You know, when I started this, I realized quickly there are going to be some people that are likely to be upset with some of the placements and choices I make. Excitebike Arena was one of those choices I was dreading. I'm sure many people are going to feel this is way too low, but hear me out. Look at this map. It's 2 straight lines. And I don't mean like kinda straight, it's just 2 straight lines. But surely there's some cool walls to go off to, defy gravity. No, not there. A glider section for mad air. No, that's a negative. Underwater. None. Now, I know I've harped on tracks for not using any of the features that make Mario Kart 8 stand out from other racers or even other Mario Karts, but it doesn't mean I hate basic courses. There's a few that I simply adore. This track is just really boring though. Okay, so before I dig into why it's boring, I have to admit it does leave a good first impression. Playing into the old folks, I can't believe I just said that, who grew up with the NES, I'm sure it's nice to see a nice callback to an old classic. But like, Excitebike is kinda boring now? Like, it was enough because that's what video games were in the NES era. But that's like a $5 indie game by today's standards. But yeah, back on the positive speaking, this is a dirt bike arena, and it's filled with all the callbacking you could ever ask for. It's awesome. It's also base game DLC, which means you know it's going to look extra detailed. Also, the music, I hate that the stages that I really want to showcase the music for is like all in the lower half of this list. But it's just so fun of a soundtrack. So yeah, this track has a lot of bounce and mud. Like I said in Sunset Wild, I greatly dislike the mud on tracks. It's just slow pacing slapped in the middle of the map. And then there's the ramps. They kinda suck. Like, I know that most people like ramps because you get boosts, but when the whole course is ramps, you spend more time in the air than you do boosting. The airtime also means less control, so you spend most of the time just hoping the next jump doesn't land you on a banana or something of the sort. As a result, my favorite jumps are those ones that have the long stretch afterwards because it means you get a little bit of an air break. But who knows, maybe you won't even get any. Yeah, this is actually one of those changing maps. I don't know the number of layouts in total, but Excitebike Arena actually changes each time you play it. If you didn't know that, I wouldn't be too upset. I didn't know that until I was getting footage and I got to see the side by side. This is likely because the source material had a map maker mode, and this was probably the easiest way to reflect that, but it, again, kinda sucks. Like, for it to be so easily missable is kind of wild, and that's likely because the course only consists of like 3 different ramp types. It's also kind of telling when the best use of a mushroom is to just avoid the ramps, the main feature of this map. I'd rather just drive off the grass because launching off of a ramp just feels slower, and it means huge error with hoping you didn't waste your mushroom on a bad landing. The best use for the mushrooms is for the turns, making for huge shortcuts. Too bad there's only 2. Excitebike Arena doesn't live up to its name. It's just boring. The airtime feels good in your first impression, but I think over time you realize that all of those hops get boring, just like the map layout. Even how it randomizes is boring. I'm glad if you can find fun, but the constant exposure to this track has left me wishing to play something with a little more intrigue in it. Maybe we'll find it tomorrow, and please consider a little subscribe and a like. It validates me. It tells me that I'm not as boring as this track. See you next time.